Jake Paul's favored.
He's a favorite, yeah. Well, he's 27 years old, and he's a really good boxer. He's a very good boxer. Like, he's a legitimate professional boxer. He fought Tommy Fury.
I don't, not even call it like as a fight.
Right.
You know, it's an event for me.
Probably going to be
every time.
This guy is a real boxer, so it'll be another opportunity to show that Jake Paul is a real boxer.
Joe Rogan continues to back Jake Paul, calling him a legitimate boxer and recognizing his progress in the sport, especially following his performance against Tommy Fury. In contrast, Canelo Alvarez takes a more dismissive stance, suggesting that the matchup feels more like a spectacle than a genuine boxing contest. Their differing viewpoints underscore the ongoing debate over Jake Paul's credibility and place in the world of professional boxing.
Jake Paul's favored.
He's a favorite, yeah. Well, he's 27 years old, and he's a really good boxer. He's a very good boxer. Like, he's a legitimate professional boxer. He fought Tommy Fury, who's also a legitimate professional boxer, a real good one. He's Tyson Fury's younger brother, and he lost a close decision, but it was a good fight, a real good fight against a good fighter. He can fight.
Yeah.
Jake Paul has consistently sought acceptance from traditional boxing fans, carefully selecting opponents to earn the respect of seasoned critics and fighters. However, his upcoming bout with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. may fall short of the financial success he's hoping for. The novelty of Jake's boxing journey has faded for many, and unless this fight offers something truly remarkable, it's unlikely to draw the blockbuster numbers he's seen in the past. While dedicated fight fans may tune in for the legacy and stakes involved, winning over the wider audience appears to be a tougher challenge this time around.
I like it. He was a little listless. He can get listless, but he's big. He's schooled in boxing.
It just does nothing for me.
Yeah, it is a challenge though. It's a legit challenge, right? He's probably
he got his ass whooped. He got his ass whooped by Anderson Silva. Jake's already beat Anderson Silva, so it's like
if he shows up for the fight, if he's really training, he's fairly tough. How old is he now?
39.
Oh wow,
he's 40.
Oh wow.
I don't think that one's gonna get big numbers. It's just like, all right, it's not a good next step. It's almost like he's going backwards.
But
now.
Wouldn't you say it's a good challenge for him?
No,
he's gonna beat him.
Yes. No, it's not a good challenge because he already got his ass whooped by Anderson. You know, it doesn't do much. I guess it keeps Jake active, and it's a boxer.
Yeah.
But the boxing, you're still gonna get validation from the boxing community, which is what he wants. It keeps him busy, I guess. So that's good.
Oscar De La Hoya insists this fight is more than just hype. He believes Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is training with serious intent, aiming to make a statement in the ring. De La Hoya sees this as a far more competitive matchup than most anticipate, combining Chavez Jr.'s legacy and experience with Jake Paul's bold persona. The fight carries real tension, and De La Hoya's comments hint that Jake could be stepping into the most challenging bout of his career. For boxing purists, this is the moment they've been waiting for. It's no longer just a true test of whether Jake can hold his own against a legacy fighter with something to prove.
The expectations,
a lot of
and
pressure.
then, the pressure, and he got involved with drugs and this and that, and he seems like he's doing better and he's doing good. And I've seen him train lately. I've talked to the father, and he says, "Look, if my son shows up to the ring the way I've seen him in the last few months, I think he said like last 6-7 months, he goes, yeah, he's gonna knock out Jake Paul."
Wow.
I'm like, okay, I'm sure a lot of people would love to watch that and see that. So, don't miss the fight.
Yeah.
June 28th. It's going to be crazy. No, it is. I mean, because Jake Paul actually has, it's not that he has something to prove, but he actually can prove something here. Chavez Jr. went the distance with Canelo, right? In Canelo's prime. And so imagine if Jake Paul knocks out Chavez Jr., then what?
Canelo Alvarez has never seen Jake Paul as a serious boxer. While he acknowledges Jake's talent for business and his knack for drawing attention, Canelo has consistently dismissed the idea of facing him in a competitive fight. Buzz about a potential matchup, Canelo views Jake more as a promotional figure than a legitimate technical opponent. For him, the appeal lies in the entertainment value, not in boxing skill. Any respect Canelo offers is clearly aimed at Jake's Marketing abilities, not his prowess in the ring.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul is officially off. Here, I'll get out of the way so you can see the off. But this actually makes sense to me because the owner of Ring Magazine, Turki Al Sheikh, he posted a very cryptic photo on Instagram about an hour ago, and the caption reads, "Don't mess with the lion. 4 fights for Canelo with Riyadh season, the deal is done. A lion doesn't lose sleep over the opinion of a sheep. Fear the lion, not the jungle." And look who the first comment is. Canelo. Let's go, brother. This is one of the few times Canelo has publicly been on good terms with Turki Al Sheikh. But boy, from the Terrence fight being off to now the Jake Paul fight being off, this has been a wild couple of last few days for the face of boxing. Wait, which one of these two is the face of boxing? I'm just kidding, it's Jake Paul, obviously. Just kidding, it's Canelo! But since it looks like Canelo is now under contract with Turki Al Sheikh, the chances of Canelo ever fighting Jake Paul have lowered significantly. Because no offense to Jake Paul, from what I've heard, Turki Al Sheikh doesn't want to associate himself with the kind of boxing that Jake Paul does. Any more updates that happen with this, I'll be sure to do my best to fill you in. As always, thanks for watching.
Canelo has already faced Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in the ring, though that was during a very different time in Julio's career. Now past his prime and having dealt with issues like rehab and retirement, Julio is no longer the fighter he once was. Still, Jake Paul sees this matchup as a chance to draw comparisons to one of boxing's greats. While the context is important, Julio today is far removed from the version Canelo faced. Jake hopes the association will enhance his credibility. In a recent interview, he made it clear that this fight is part of his ongoing effort to be taken seriously in the sport.
Able to fight, and he's taking this far more serious, and he's not struggling with addiction issues like he has for so long in his pro career. This fight does become a little bit of a dangerous one for Jake, not because Chavez Jr. is in his prime anymore. He's still going to be a shell of that early 20s Julio Cesar Chavez. But with 60 wins under his belt, if there is still any of that muscle memory left, there's still any go left in his body, because again, I hate to keep referring to it, doing drugs or having addiction issues does take its toll on your body, and sometimes it isn't recoverable, especially as you're going up in. Cesar Chavez not a normal cruiserweight, so he's going to be moving up as he gets older. Until what he's going to do in this fight, I don't know, but I'll tell you, I watched him ringside against Uriah Hall, and it wasn't an impressive performance when he beat Uriah Hall in a 6-round fight. Honestly, when I watched the fight back, it looked like the only reason he beat Uriah Hall in that fight was because Uriah, like most MMA fighters, when they come to boxing, guidance of the rule set, right? They get hit with a ton of shots that don't hurt them, but also they're getting hit with shots that are scoring against them. Uriah Hall didn't look overwhelmed in that fight at all. In fact, he looked like he was in the fight with Chavez Jr. And that in its own right is pretty damning, because while he won the fight, that was Uriah Hall's first. And Uriah was not a young guy at that point either. The point I'm making with all this is I get what Jake is doing here, and fair play to him. Again, you do have to remember Jake didn't have an amateur career.
Canelo Alvarez dismissed the idea of fighting Jake Paul with a laugh, joking that he might consider it when he turns 50. The remark underscores just how little he regards Jake as a legitimate contender. To Canelo, the notion of stepping into the ring with a YouTuber turned boxer is borderline absurd. His comment serves as both a jab at Jake's reputation in the sport and a pointed critique of Jake's choice of opponents, many of whom are aging former stars. For Canelo, Jake's rise is more about chasing headlines than building a real boxing legacy.
Would you ever entertain a Jake Paul fight?
Not right now. Let's see later when I have like a 50 years old.
Despite his sarcastic tone, Canelo Alvarez has hinted that he might consider an exhibition bout with Jake Paul after retiring from professional boxing. While such a fight wouldn't be competitive in nature, it would likely attract massive attention, simply due to the star power involved. For Jake, even a non-competitive match with Canelo would be a major milestone, boosting his visibility and further legitimizing his name in the boxing world. It's yet another example of how Jake Paul's presence continues to blur the lines between pure athletic competition and sports entertainment.
Would you ever do like exhibitions like that, or like people like Jake Paul call you out, or these like other big stars? Like, is that business-wise like even worth it?
Done with boxing? Why not? Maybe I'll do it. I think it's
like when you're done like competing at the highest level, you're saying?
Yeah,
I think it's good because what happened there is other people who never watch boxing or they don't know anything about boxing, they want to watch Jake Paul because he's coming from he bring fans from other world, right?
Yeah.
That's good because everybody enjoy it.
Would you ever entertain that idea when you're done?
Maybe.
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. presents a challenge Jake Paul has yet to encounter. Unlike Jake's previous opponents, many of whom were MAM fighters or exhibition matchups, like the one with Mike Tyson, this fight carries real stakes. Chavez Jr.'s power, especially his signature left hook, still commands respect within boxing circles. Not stepping into the ring for spectacle, he's coming to make a statement. If Jake makes even a single mistake, Julio has the experience in punching. Power to capitalize on it and potentially end the fight with one devastating blow.
It could happen. This dude. I don't trust that guy. I don't trust Chavez.
Yeah.
You're nothing like your daddy.
Yo, you just alienated. You said, I don't trust that guy.
I don't. It's like, bro, I don't trust you, man. We seen too much of that quitting you.
He's got the quirky, the ugly stuff that'll get you by.
Chavez?
Yeah.
He still has a left hook for 2 rounds.
You said 2 rounds?
Yeah,
That's it?
It's fresh for 2 rounds. After that, the problem with Chavez Jr., if Chavez Jr. just showed up and let his balls hang and committed to it and just let his hands go, but even at his best, he didn't let his hands go a whole lot. But if he did, he could win this fight. Yeah. But he won't. Yeah. That's not who he is. He has no confidence anymore. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. The minute he also loses so much steam after 2 rounds. He's kind of like Mike Tyson in a lot of ways. He loses steam after a round and a half. He has a left hook that you still have to it keeps you honest. You do have to worry about that left hook, especially early. Yeah. But like he just has no confidence anymore. The minute things start going south, the minute he gets touched, he just
looking for out.
Even if he's not, I think in this fight he'll like Zab Judah used to do sometimes. He'll take his beating, but he won't let his hands go. And
I'm gonna speak a truth. I think this is my truth, and I'm just speaking candidly. You got a kid that's spoiled.
While many critics are quick to dismiss Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. due to his age and time out of the spotlight, the reality is that he hasn't been inactive nearly as long as some of Jake Paul's past opponents. Unlike fully retired athletes, Julio has stayed in shape and remained closer to fighting condition. His continued training and the sharp instincts honed over years in the ring give him an edge that shouldn't be overlooked. Jake may have youth and momentum, but Julio's experience, ring IQ, and solid foundation make this a much more evenly matched fight than it might seem at first glance.
Word on the grapevine is that Jake Paul will be fighting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in his upcoming fight. That is apparently going to be announced very, very soon. Now, this is actually quite an interesting one, really. Jake's going to get a lot of stick for this. It is another retired fighter. However, this is a guy that realistically has only been retired for about 4 years. And he also isn't a 60-year-old Mike Tyson. Chavez Jr. is only 39 years old. And the last notable fight, realistically, for Chavez Jr. was Danny Jacobs. That was back at the back end of 2019. So you could say that realistically, the guy hasn't been fighting top competitors for about 5.5 years or so. The thing that does worry me just a little bit is that Chavez Jr. was pretty much fighting at middleweight during his, let's say, prime. And no doubt that this fight will be at cruiserweight, if not heavyweight. So good on Jake Paul for fighting someone who is semi-recently retired this time, and is actually a boxer and not an MMA fighter. But again, shame on Jake Paul for fighting someone who is considerably smaller and will likely want them to balloon up to cruiserweight. Maybe even heavyweight if Jake's sticking at this thing of he's a heavyweight now. Let me know in the comments, will you watch this if it's on Netflix and it doesn't cost any more money like the Mike Tyson fight did? Are you interested? Should Jake Paul be taking on more active professional boxers nowadays? You know, not someone who has been retired for 4 or 5 years. I'm interested to know your opinions. Also, will this fight actually get made? Let me know in the comments. As always, like, favourite, save and a share, all appreciated. And if you want to be kept up to date with everything boxing, hit that follow button. Peace out.
Jeff Mayweather, known for his measured perspective, sees Jake Paul's upcoming fight as a calculated risk. He recognizes Julio Cesar Chavez, Jr.'s past accomplishments, but notes that age and inconsistency could tilt the odds in Jake's favor. Strategically, Jake's camp understands the value of defeating a former world champion. It adds legitimacy to his record. Much like Jake's planned bout with Mike Tyson, this fight has drawn criticism from skeptics who label it a money grab. They argue that both fighters stand to gain, win or lose, and some even speculate the match could be scripted. While there's no evidence to support such claims, the rumors continue to circulate.
You can't make this shit up. Guys, Jake Paul fights this weekend at the same time as UFC 317. And don't be shocked, but it's another scam. This time it's against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who's 39 years old, hasn't fought in a year, and lost a boxing match to Anderson Silva, who's not even a fucking boxer and 50 years old. You guys have to know the drill by now. Take Jake Paul, minus 650, throw him in parlays, take him straight, lay the line, he's not losing. This shit's hilarious. A flat out joke. A disgrace. But free cash is free cash. I'm not watching a second of this fight. A second. I'm just gonna watch my bets, turn green, and get paid out. Do yourself a favor. And get paid out too. Jake Paul, minus 650. Free as the air you breathe.
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has made it clear he's a lifelong boxer, not a retired UFC fighter or a crossover athlete. He takes offense at being grouped with Jake Paul's past opponents and is confident that Jake will quickly feel the difference. In the ring, for Julio, this fight isn't about social media clout or internet fame, it's about defending the value of real boxing experience. He believes Jake has yet to face a true test, and this is his opportunity to expose that. On the other side, Jake Paul isn't lacking in confidence. He sees this bout as a defining moment not just for himself, but for Julio as well. No previous opponent has brought the kind of legitimacy that Chavez Jr. carries. This isn't just another pivotal moment in Jake's boxing journey. The outcome will either solidify his credibility or reveal his limitations. It's a test of endurance, skill, and mental toughness. While Julio may be past his prime, he's still miles ahead of anyone Jake has faced so far.
It's not going to be me, but I'm training harder than ever. I know this is my toughest opponent yet. Maybe not the biggest name opponent yet, but it's still going to be a super, super good fight. So make sure everyone pull up Anaheim, California, Ticketmaster.com. Be there, baby.
I was going to say that, do you think this is the toughest opponent? Obviously, he's still a guy who was, he's not all that old. He's got a ton of fights. He's got, I think, 61 pro fights. Think this is the toughest challenge for you if you take everything into consideration?
Yeah, taking everything into consideration and how hard he's training behind the scenes, people saying that this is the most serious he's ever taken a fight, and the fact that he's a former world champion, 30-something knockouts, and I think he wants to put Mexico on his back and represent, and he doesn't want to lose to a guy like me because he knows that's going to hurt his legacy that he's built for himself.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jake, if you see video of him, it looks like he's training hard. I think if there's one criticism, obviously, as you know, of his that people have always said is that, hey, he doesn't train hard, doesn't work as hard as he should, but he's a guy with a lot of talent. But if he is working hard and he does still have that talent, obviously, that could make for a dangerous opponent, couldn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I bring out of my opponents. Even when I fly sparring partners in, they go harder than they normally do with other guys because they want to prove a point because it's me. They don't want to get beat up by a guy who's only been doing this for 5 years or so. So they always bring their A game, and that's why I'm always at my best as well because I have to bring my A game every time.
Jake Paul's confidence has been fueled by his previous win over Anderson Silva fighter, who once defeated Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. While it's well known that styles make fights and MMA veterans don't always transition smoothly into boxing, the comparison gives Jake a psychological boost. He views it as proof that he can hold his own or even outbox Julio. The logic might be questionable, but the mental edge it provides heading into a high-stakes bout can't be underestimated. Tensions escalated during their recent face-off. Julio openly questioned Jake's record, his background, and whether he even deserves to be called a boxer. He reminded everyone that he was winning world titles when Jake was still a kid watching boxing from the couch. The animosity between them feels real, and it's added a layer of genuine intensity to the rivalry. For fans, that tension brings an air of unpredictability, making this fight feel like it truly could go either way.
Para empezar, to start off, nunca noqueado a nadie. He's never knocked anybody out. Dime a uno que haya noqueado. Give me one name he's knocked out. Uno. Just one.
Knockout.
Es como si yo peleara con mi papá. Aunque él es mejor que yo, lo puedo noquear. It's like if I fought with my dad, you know, he's better than me, but, you know, he's just old. So, he's talking about Mike Tyson. Va a ser una buena pelea.
I'll whoop both your asses on the same night.
It's going to be a good fight.
Put both the Chavezes in there. I'll whoop Senior and Junior. Julio.
Cuando él nació, yo ya era campeón, dile. When you were born, I was already a champ.
There's two things you can't beat. There's two things you can't beat. Me and your drug addiction.
Surprisingly, a growing number of fans now believe Jake Paul could actually pull off a win. He's younger, more active, and brimming with confidence. A victory over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. wouldn't just be another name added to Jake's resume. Would mark a turning point in how he's viewed in the boxing world. Such a win would elevate him from a sideshow attraction to a legitimate contender. That potential for a career-defining moment has made this fight one of the most talked about. Matchups in recent memory?
Can Chavez do this? Here we go. DW at Walmart. Let's go. Okay, let's see it.
Logan Paul has acknowledged the gravity of this matchup, calling it Jake's toughest challenge to date. This time, it's not about hype or spectacle, it's about real boxing skill, endurance, and going toe-to-toe with a seasoned and dangerous opponent. The key difference between Jake's scheduled bout with Mike Tyson and this fight lies in the opponent's condition. Tyson, at 58, hadn't fought competitively in years, while Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is younger, more active, and still retains much of his timing, reflexes, and power. That distinction makes the Chavez fight far more dangerous and potentially career-defining for Jake.
I think it's one of his toughest fights.
It's definitely his toughest fight. Jake, I feel like, has gotten stiffed a few times this year with who his opponents were gonna be. This is what I don't understand about people hating on him. He's not fighting tomato cans. Every single person that he fought had a chance to beat him. And by the way, people believed that they were probably going to beat
every time.
This guy is a real boxer. So it'll be another opportunity to show that Jake Paul is a real boxer.
That wraps up today's video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.